Hello, everybody on Facebook. It's good to have everybody in the building. Well, energetic building. So it is the third Wednesday that we are here talking about the chakra system. It is week 3 of the 10-week series that we are doing. That's leading up to something amazing. Dr. Sue and I have been working together, conversating, talking, getting to know each other even, and just building at the same time. And one of the things that we agree is this conversation isn't had enough about energy, just energy in general, whether we're talking about the chakras, whether we're talking about life in general, whether we're talking about relationships, whether we're talking about business. It all has to do with energy. And if we can be better stewards of the power we have over distributing and absorbing energy, then we'll find very quick enough how we truly are the true I ams in our lives. And I am is going to be very important today because today we are finally going to start diving into the chakras, starting with the first chakra, which is the root chakra. So let's see who out there. Somebody said, "What's up?" And I know who it is. It says Facebook user, but I know it's Keisha Yearby. It said it's no sound. Are you sure it's no sound? Go out and come back in and make sure there's no sound. Because I think that we do have sound. Let me just put Facebook on just to make sure, because I don't want us to get too deep into it if there isn't. Let me just put Facebook on just to make sure. There we go. Confirmation. All right. She said, "Yeah, it's me." She said, "I hear you now." So one more time, Keisha. What's up? I hope you are doing well. If you feel like anything in this is going to resonate with someone, Keisha, tag them in this video. Share this video. I hope you rock with us to the end of it. We're going to be talking about some really good stuff today. Before I go any further, though, let me introduce or allow my guest or host. She's like, let's see, we'll call her the ghost. I'm sorry, y'all. I can't help but be silly. My guest host, my ghost, Dr. Sue. I'll just call her my friend. How about that? That's about the easiest thing to call her because that's the most natural. I'll allow her to introduce herself, then I introduce myself, and we'll get rocking tonight.
Hey y'all. I love to say that. It sounds so country.
Hey, y'all.
I just kill myself. Okay. Hello. I'm Dr. Sue. I am here in Atlanta, Georgia. I am excited to be here tonight. If this is your first time checking me out, I am an energy healer. I do some psychic work. Yeah, girlie, we got the memo.
It's so funny because that was the last thing I was doing.
So, yeah, what was I saying? Oh, and I'm a life coach, and I'm doing some really good things working with women, working with my friends who are with the men of Distinct, and I'm just excited to be here. I wore my red because red is the color of the root chakra, and I wanted y'all to be able to see and know that we are doing it tonight.
Yes, we are all in over here. I love it. And I wore white today. And when I was sitting here, I was getting ready and I had my camera on, but I hadn't brought me in yet. So I knew you could see me. I was like, oh, she has on red. I gotta put my red on because I had it. I knew what shirt I wanted to put on. But like you said, I took that nap that took a little longer than I thought it would take. And I forgot to change my shirt because I got up running. Hey, Angelique, how you doing today, sis? Yes. Oh, Girly Marie said, I mean, intensified pink. It's pink. It's pink with 3 snaps in the Z formation. Okay. But yes, red is the color of the root chakra, which we are going to be talking about today. So my name is Carrie Irene Crosby. I am the CEO and founder of ATBA Impact Group, where we plant positive seeds of change on a consistent basis. And we are on the mission to eliminate competition through collaboration because we can all win. We are all pieces of the same soul. Yeah, that was a nice slip there. We are all pieces of the same soul. because the soul is really just the energy system that provides all of us the deeper depths of experiences of life. We are the seer, we are the knower, but the experiences shapes our lives. And what we store in the inside of us through this human experience are the things that are filtered through us and becomes what we see on the outside. The circumstances, the what we call good or the bad. But truly it's just a manifestation of what's within us. So we're going to get deep into that today, starting with the root chakra. So just a little recap of what we've been doing these last 2 weeks. Again, this is the third week of a 10-week series. So if you have not looked at the other ones, that's kind of like a prerequisite to what we've been talking about. Please, please, please go back and watch the other two. This is shared on my page. It's in Dr. Sue's group, the Red Diamond group. If you are a woman, please join that group. It is an absolutely amazing group. It'll also be shared in the ATBA Impact group. You can join that as well. We will put the links in the bottom if you so choose to join. And then I said my page too. I think I already said that. But go back and watch the other 2 weeks. The first week we just kind of went over what is a chakra. You know, some people have never heard of the term, or they've heard the term and it's been in such a context that it just didn't resonate with them. But when we talk about chakras, we might as well be talking about the air that we breathe. No one is excluded, whether you believe it or not. If some people may think, I don't need air to live. Well, you can believe that if you want to, but the truth of the matter is, yes, you do. Yes, you do. In this human form, anyway, you need it. And the chakra and the energy system is something that still works even when you don't understand how it works. It still works even when you don't understand how it works. So just like a car, if you were to get into a car as a 10-year-old, you may have an idea that a car is supposed to take you from point A to point B, but if you don't know how it works, soon you will get into some type of accident. You'll hit something, you'll turn down the wrong way, you'll stall the car out, you may damage the car because you're trying to rev it and do things at the wrong time. So we can do the same when it comes to energy. Energy misproportion can cause damage because we can have a lack of energy in areas, or we can have an excess energy in areas, or we can have dormant energy in areas. And all three states of interruption of flow, which we call alignment. You know, alignment is simply energy that is free to move about as it needs to in the appropriate time. Because sometimes it's good to have excess energy, right? But if we have excess energy on a regular basis, it can cause burnout. A lack of energy is good at times, like when I was taking my nap. But if it stayed there, then my muscles would start to deplete. So think of energy in that way. Now, I know when we started this journey, there's one more thing that I want to go over, the flint, before we do move deeper into the root. But I wanted to say, when we first started this journey, there was a lot of things that, I was learning from Dr. Sue. Dr. Sue was learning from me, and we're still in that exchange. And I know that she's been doing some research of her own, and I would love to hear what her thoughts, her initial thoughts are now when she started diving into the chakra. So tell me what has been coming up for you through this journey.
But as an energy healer, I knew about the chakras, but I never really went deep. And I've even done, when I've done training to certified Reiki practitioners and Reiki masters, we talk about the chakras, but I didn't go deep like I did with this research. Right. And I was telling you today, we're going to be talking about the root chakra, which sometimes you hear called the base chakra or other names, but I was just telling Carrie how phenomenal it is. I'm just in awe. It's like if your base chakra is blocked, then everything is off. And all of the other chakras, it's like the root chakra is the foundation of the building. Yeah. If you're the building, the root chakra is your foundation. And when that is off, if it's blocked, if it's too much energy there or not enough, then everything is off out of whack. All of the other
Mhm.
chakras are also impacted and they're out of whack. So we'll go deeper and talk
Mhm.
about. Harry's going to tell you all the functions because I'm still learning that part. But I'm just going to talk about how it impacts you spiritually and psychologically,
Mhm.
which I
Yeah.
also was just amazed at what I learned.
Yeah. I did this video for my sister that really kind of I feel explained that root chakra a lot because it is the foundation and it is where we house our initial reaction to housing that energy. Because before it was just energy, it wasn't housed before we were born, right? Before we were born, it was just energy, 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 energy. But now, as a human being, we've housed that energy. Our vessels have housed that energy. So now we have the perception and the experience of different energy, which
Mhm.
is anger, which is ecstasy, and everything in between. So, in order for us to maneuver through this human experience, we have to realize that energy plays a really big part in how we experience this human existence. So that is why I feel like it is so important to learn about the chakras, because chakras is nothing but another name for the different, I'd say, ports where energy is housed. And we
Energy
described that,
centers.
yeah, and we described that in week 2 when we talked about um the different um rooms in a house. The bathroom has a different energy, the kitchen has a different energy, the bedroom has a different energy, all these different places in your house has a different energy. Now when you just think of home, you think of just a home, just a fixture, a building. But when you think of the bedroom, you think of sleep, sex, relaxation, dressers, clothing, all those types of things. When you think of restroom, you think of shower, restroom, water, the cold towel. I think everybody's bathroom kind of cold. They're like the coldest place in the house, right? So, you think of different things, but it's only because of your experience of that thing, of why you think of that thing. Because even though, and trigger warning, okay, let's put that out there first. In this broadcast, because we are talking about the root chakra,
No sound.
yeah, I hit mute. There's cameras right here. The microphone's right here. Most people can't see it, but I accidentally hit it. But when I wanted to issue a trigger warning because when we're talking about the root chakra, this is dealing a lot with sexuality. It's dealing a lot with trauma. It's dealing a lot with a lot of things that may come up for you. So before we move any further, I wanted to give that warning, and I want to revert back to the flint. Last week on week 2, we talked about the flint. The flint is something that we have just, talked about as a way of dissecting the different things that you may feel while we're talking about energy. And especially with the root chakra and giving this trigger warning, we just want to remind you that when things come up for you, when we're talking about the root chakra, please take a moment, pause it if you have to, turn it completely off if you have to, and revisit it when you feel more grounded and you feel more peaceful. I will put a meditation in the chat when we get done for you to kind of ground yourself. It's one I'll put one in there that I did. That's all the chakras, but I'll research. I have some saved in my YouTube for. Oh, and hey, YouTube. I know Angelique was on YouTube, but I didn't say hey to YouTube. I will put one in there specifically for the root chakra so that you can kind of, get in touch with whatever that feeling is. But one of the things I invite you to do is use the Flint method, where it is the F stands for feel what you're feeling. What are you feeling? Identify that feeling and where you're feeling it. Like, where, like, am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling hyper? Am I feeling extremely energetic? Or did all of a sudden my energy deplete? What am I feeling? And where in my body am I feeling it? Because that can tell you a lot, especially as we go through the different chakras and let you know the different organs that it also affects. And then after that, I want you to kind of lean away from it. I want you to lean away from that feeling so you become the observer of that feeling, because that's what you truly are. You are not that feeling. And if you can identify it and look at it, it's not you. It's what you're experiencing because of something that has happened that you've stored inside, and something has touched it, and it is asking to be released. It is asking to be acknowledged and released. So lean away from the feeling. And then after you do that, the I, we want you to investigate it, which I think Angelique came up with that word. I had a different word, but we just ain't going to revisit that word. You start to investigate that feeling so that you can say, is this happening now? Is this really happening now? Which is the end. Because once you start to investigate that feeling and see what it's connected to, what experience it brought up, what memory came up, or did it make me nauseous? Did it make me dizzy? Because there are different things that make people even black out. These are intense memories that we have stored inside of us that are so painful that when it gets touched, we have these manifestations of illnesses and dilemmas and worries and things. But then we got to ask ourselves, did this happen now? Is this in my present? Is this in my now? And if it's not, we have to start to transmute that energy, which is the T. So go through that process. If anything comes up for you, and again, please pause it and catch up later, or come back and do a replay, because I'd much rather you do a replay in your timing than to just be with us just because you want to be here on the video. You know what I mean? On the live. This video will be here forever and ever. Amen. So please protect yourself and your energy as we proceed talking about the root chakra. So when we're talking about the root chakra, first and foremost, that's what we're wearing red today, because red is the color of the root chakra. And I have tons and tons of notes, and I know I'm gonna just go with the flow. But before I get going with the flow, I want to go over the specific specs of the root chakra. And I'm just going to go right from my notes, and then we're going to go with the flow, because I want to make sure that I don't miss these things before we get into the feeling of what the root chakra is truly all about. So the root chakra is truly about instinct. It's about that survival, that fight or flight that we, hear about in psychology and pretty much everything, even in history. When we're talking about the evolution of the human being, anthropology, humanities, all the subjects have to do with this root chakra, because it's our survival system that's kicked in. As I was just saying, before we come into this human existence, we are just pure energy. But then the energy gets housed through, I could go into this, but I'm not going to go into it. It's just a whole nother live. It gets housed through the accumulation of 13 billion years of existence. Okay? Think about that first and foremost. Think about how many things that happened to you this year. Think about how many things happened to your mother, her mother, her mother, and her mother. And every female that has ever existed has been born with every egg that they will ever have, which means your egg had to exist in the first egg that ever existed.
Deep, girl. That's deep.
Literally and figuratively. Deep. So you come down through the years, through all of those memories, through all of those experiences, to be who you are now. And you have the choice to come here. It was divine intervention for you to come here. There was no man created out of the thought of man. It was just man making a decision in the moment, because that is our God-given gift. So as we come down through the centuries and now we're born, the first thing is that the energy gets housed. That's first and foremost in a smally, tiny little egg. No, I mean, think about energy. When we think about energy, we think about flowing and out there and everything's connected. And then you get a proportion, your own proportion, that big, microscopic. And I'm gonna take you to the Bible for a second. It says if you had faith the size of a mustard seed. And we take that and we think, oh, I can do anything. I can get a job. I can build a house. I can do this. You can create lungs and hearts and fingers and toes. Some of us created 12, and we think that's a freak. I'm like, that's powerful. They had so much energy built up into them that they even created more than any other human being created. Most human beings created. But we look at things in a different way a lot of times because of what we've been taught down through the years. And we're born a lot of times with this embedded information in us, which is the root of who we are when we're born. So when we're born and we come out, the first thing is that your mama's screaming, the doctors are yelling, you're in this sterile environment, daddy saying push, maybe, I don't know if he there, and the doctor saying one more time, the nurse is just saying breathe, and the mama saying ah! And this is how we're born most of the time.
In chaos, total chaos.
Traumatic. And then we come out, and if we ain't crying, they make us cry because we take on that first breath. So think about a root, and we think about generational curses. We use all these terms, but we talk about, the root or ancestry, and it goes back and back and back and back and back and back and back. This is the first sprout of like a plant coming out of the ground. Because that's one thing that we always use when we think about, new beginnings, like, oh, a seed, life is like a seed buried. It looks like it's buried, but it's truly planted. That's us. That's us. We were buried in something, and then we came out of something. And that can be very traumatic. That can be very scary because it's very foreign. Before I go any further, because y'all know I'll be going on a roller coaster. Dr. Sue, what's coming up for you? So, I'll get going, boy. I'm like,
everything that you're saying. My concern, though, I don't want us to go so deep for our audience because we can do that.
I'm like, girl.
So what's coming up for me, and then I'm going to give it back over to you. When I think of the root, I think of it as it's alive. The root chakra is the first chakra to be formed in the body, and all of the other ones build on that. And when you think of so many people don't know that we have chakras throughout our body, right? Absolutely. The ones that we're talking about are the 7 major ones. Yes. But when you think of the root, think of it as it's like the head of a tripod. The chakra in your feet are the poles on the tripod, and then the root chakra is the base, and so they give you like your legs or like the roots of a tree. That's what's going down into the earth, because the base chakra is the one that grounds you with. When we talk about grounding and getting centered, that's where the energy is coming from, the earth. And that could take us into a whole nother tangent. We came into this world without shoes. Yeah. And there was a time when people didn't really wear shoes, or either we didn't wear them or we didn't have them. And so we tended to be more grounded because we were walking on our bare feet on the earth, which is where we pull that energy from. But now we've got all the plastics and the concrete and all of that. And that's one of the things that keeps the energy from flowing into the base chakra, because we're pulling the energy from the outside and using it and then we're giving you out some good energy back.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm glad you said that about the roots and how it goes down into the earth and how there are more than one, it's the seven chakras. And as the chakras are being expanded, so to speak, it is through that root chakra that we sprout.
Mhm.
It's through that um, we are born. When you think of a fetus, and when it in its first stages, it's that head, but it's that little tail. But through that is where we come from. Angelique says, did some grounding outside today. It was so refreshing, and it's so refreshing. And that's when I was talking about, in my sister's video that I started to go through. I was going. I was. My first of all, my sister sells some products. They're called Be Epic. And I've been taking some of them, and they are absolutely amazing. They're all natural products. And I was going through my 7-day root chakra cleanse. So I was taking in accordance to some of the things she did. So I was doing a video about it. And I was just talking about the different things that you can eat with the root chakra, which I'll give those to you now before I go too far. Strawberries, red apples, grains, nut, legumes, root vegetables, any root vegetable, whether it's like potatoes, rhubarb, things like that, radishes that are underground. Quinoa is good, beets, pomegranate, cherries, and raspberries. These are just some of the few things that you can eat if you want to really just feed into your root chakra. And I had got some raspberries. I'm not a big fan of raspberry flavored stuff, but I was like, I really haven't given raspberries a fair shot. Let me get some raspberries and see what they're talking about. So I get these raspberries and I'm just looking at them. I'm just, I'm that girl. I'm just like, let me look at this raspberry. And I'm looking at it. And I noticed, if you notice in the raspberry, it's almost like this. And then there's that dip in the middle, right? Which means it had to grow like this, like around, right? So when I started thinking about the different chakras and how the body grows around the chakras, and it houses this energy. And when I started looking at it, I noticed in the inside it was kind of fuzzy. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, what is in there? So I literally peeled it open, and there was a little bit of mold in there. And I had washed them. I shouldn't have even told you, because that just gives you another reason not to eat them. See, I ain't gonna tell your business, Dr. Sue, but
Yeah, because everybody can see this reaction. Go ahead and tell them, because no, I will not be eating raspberries.
Dr. Sue don't eat nothing. She ain't gonna eat no raspberries. She don't eat
Nothing that's strange. I don't do strange.
It's so hot in here. I think it's just coffee, but it's so good. But I noticed that in the inside, hang on. I noticed in the inside, it had a little mold in it. So I'm like, that is so indicative of our chakras. If we don't investigate what's inside, it sits there and it rots. And especially in the root chakra, because it was first, it houses the oldest memories that we have. Even though we may not remember birth, and some people do, we may not remember the trauma of it all, but it's there. And it may not be something that can be touched because our experience was like very normal. And then we grow up and we're like, everybody, everybody's birth. We understand what birth is. So then that memory becomes dormant. So we don't think about it anymore. But there's a lot of people, and a lot of people that I know, that have things that happen to them at an early age that does get deep in those crevices, that does sit down there for a long time, that does get down there in the dark, and you can't really see it unless you dismantle yourself. So when we're talking about the root chakra, and it has to do with the survival, it also has to do with your security.
Yeah.
How was it growing up for you? Was it a stable environment? Did you have people to rely on? Did you have, that person, no matter who it was, to nurture you? And we talk a lot about nurture versus nature, but they're truly the same thing, because it still are outside influences that determine how smoothly you transition through life. So think of that. Think about that. If anything comes up with you, practice that flint. And Angelique put it in the comments. I greatly appreciate that. If something comes up for you and you think, this and that and the other happened to me, but I don't really think about that. I mean, I really don't feel like, then why did you remember it? If it doesn't influence you in this moment, does it influence you, in general? How can you think of situations where, you have been, you don't feel secure in your job, or you don't feel secure in your life or your relationship or this? Is it because it's truly not secure? Or is it because you are not secure? Because we bring the energy to every experience that we have. And if we do not learn how to let go of the past, it can influence our present, which will ultimately influence your future. So when we're talking about the root chakra, it deals with instinct. So we're talking about that fight or flight. And earlier I mentioned how energy works in two different ways. Sometimes you can have an excess of energy, and then sometimes you can have a lack of energy. So when we're talking about the energy housed by the root chakra, and we're talking about instinct and security and survival, grounding and stability, you have to think about that in that flight or fight mode. Different things can happen. So when you think of fight, you think of a danger and you think of protecting yourself. That's when the excess of energy comes. And you're going to fight off the person, the perpetrator, the bug. It could be a bug. Oh my God, that's a spider. Pow. You know what I mean? We get that energy. When I was first writing my book, I wrote this story and I told this elaborate story. And I'm going to make it really short. Think about sitting outside. You're sitting outside. You're enjoying a nice hot cup of tea, coffee, or wine, whatever your flavor is. And you just sitting there, you're sipping. There's fireflies around. You can hear ooh, ooh, in the distance. Everything's going smooth. And then you feel something on your shoulder. And all of a sudden, this tranquil thing, the cup goes up, coffee goes everywhere. Your favorite cup is broke, and you done ripped your shirt off your body. Your wig done flew across the floor because of a sensation that you had that reminds you of a threat. But you don't even know that it's a threat yet. But something kicked in because it reminded you of the time that you were threatened before. And we've housed that energy.
Yeah.
And you can believe me or not, but I can remember being in my room. I was probably, I'd say maybe 13, something like that, preteen. And I was in my room and the TV kept messing up. And I was thinking, what is going on with the TV? So I go to the back of the TV, and it's in the summertime. I lived in the country, the windows up, nice breeze coming through. I leaned down, and it was a big one of them big floor model TVs, you know what I mean? Looked like a stereo almost. And I'm trying to fix the antenna. Like you had the antennas at the right and left that hooked on the back of the two screws in the back of the TV, and you had to tighten the screw. Them was the good antennas. So I'm leaning behind the TV, and I'm like, trying to look over at the TV, and I'm like, well, they on there. And then I raise up and I look, and I was looking eye to eye to a snake.
Ooh.
I'm talking eye to eye to a snake, and he licks his tongue out because I knew in my head Snakes can't see very well. And all the lights were off in my room except for the TV illuminating on me. And this snake he sensed me. I saw him, and it was on. And he was there, I was there. And I just stopped and I looked at that snake. And I was like, I know you can't see me. So I have the upper hand. And I just slowly backed up. Slowly backed up. And I went in the room like, Daddy, there's a snake in the room. There's a snake in the room. But our instincts kick in at certain times. But it's not always just because it's danger. It doesn't have to equal run. As long as you take all the information that you have and use it in your benefit, not to your demise. And we have that choice because we are the housers and the manipulators and the movers and shakers of our energy. And when the sooner you remember that, you never didn't not know, but we forget.
Mm.
We forget because running helps sometimes, fighting helps sometimes, but a lot of us use one or the other way more than the other. So then we revert to the one that has worked the most. But the one that has worked the most is because it's probably the one we had to use the most. And just because we use the gas on the highway more than the brakes, I guarantee you we probably will all agree that the brakes are more important.
They would need to work.
They gotta work. If your gas don't work, you can get out and walk. You can get another ride. But if your brake don't work, you're gonna hit something. You're gonna hit something. Dr.
When
Sue?
I think of the base chakra, um, for those who are familiar with the various motivational theories, Maslow's hierarchy, the root chakra contains the same energy. It really addresses the same kind of issues as that first foundation on the Maslow's hierarchy, which
Uh-huh.
really deals with your insecurities relative to food and housing and uh, money and sex and anything else that is like the primal or end or primary needs. And I
Mhm.
agree with you, all of that energy, we today we contain all of the energy, the vestiges of the energy of all of our ancestors.
Mhm.
And sometimes we have, many times we have this energy and we react to things, we're triggered by things and we react in a way that when we lean back using the flint, when we lean back and look at it and investigate it, we may realize, oh, well, that's the way my mama would have reacted.
Right.
But that's the way my daddy reacted. Or I saw somebody at church react that way. And then when I lean back, I have to realize that that's not happening to me. Or I have choice. I don't have to respond that way. I don't have to react. I can do something totally different. So in the what I learned, one of the important things that I learned as I have been studying about the root chakra is that when energetically, when we are depleted, that's when we go into depression.
Mhm.
That's when we have these all of these other illnesses because energetically we're not in alignment. We don't have enough energy to keep the cells, to keep everything in the body healthy.
Mhm.
But if we do certain things like the food you're going to talk to them about, well, you already mentioned the things that they can eat,
Mhm.
and the movement and
Mhm.
the people you choose to surround yourself with who have positive energy versus other people who don't. All of those things go to building up your root chakra.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things I wanted to say about the food, an easy way to remember about the food, the type of food that you should eat is the base chakra is red. If the food is red, it's good to support that base chakra.
Yes.
So
Except
the
candy. Now don't y'all go out here eat no Jolly Ranchers and going to the dentist and blaming me for your cavities. Don't do
candy is a depleter.
it. Right, right.
And
And
raspberries, if they have, look at raspberries, if they have mold,
then
yeah, not doing it.
no moldy raspberries.
Not
No
doing
moldy
it.
raspberries. And I
I
know
have problems
my
even eating
cousin didn't put this
strawberries.
because of the raspberries, but I'm gonna put it. Oh no.
I have problems with the strawberries because they have the little hairy things on it. Now you want me to eat moldy raspberries? That is not happening. Mm, 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 mm.
Oh God. Oh God. Angelique said, yes, ma'am, Dr. Sue. Our learned behavior from observation plays a big part and needs a lot of flinting because we didn't choose what we observed as children. And it's true. As children, it makes sense of us to use different mechanisms because we're learning about life. We don't know nothing about this billions and billions of year old place that we just woke up in one day. We don't know anything about it. We're building research as we go, and that becomes the foundation of who we are. But let me tell you, each and every one of you, please listen to me. Any house can be renovated.
Yes, ma'am.
Any house. Even if you have to level that joker, you can get down and rework where you live. And we live in our bodies. We live here on earth, but we are in these bodies. These are the vehicles of which we have to take this journey. And we can renovate it anytime we want. And it starts with your root chakra. Redefine yourself. The affirmation for the root chakra is I am. Start redefining. I want you to do something, something for me between now and next week before we go to the sacral chakra. I want you to sacral chakra. I want you to go to that root chakra, and I want you to think of when you're thinking about the instinct, when you're thinking about security, when you're thinking about survival, grounding, and stability. I want you to think of the things that you learned at the earliest times of your life. And I want you to ask yourself, do I believe this about myself? Number one. And it could be yes or no, maybe, not sure, got to think about it. But I want you to ask yourself, do I want to believe this about myself? Because then that kind of softens it a little bit. Then I want you to go to, what do I want to believe about myself? And I want you to work in that area and then ask yourself truly, what do I believe about myself? Because I want you to be honest with yourself. I don't want you to harass yourself though. But I want you to see, what do I believe about myself? And I want you to say it, all the good things. And you can make the list as honestly as you can. And it could be a negative on the list. I don't care. But literally make the motion and use the energy in your wrists, hands, and fingers to mark out anything negative and see what you're left with. And if it's nothing, trust and believe me, this is the greatest opportunity that you have.
It is, isn't it? It is a phenomenal
It is a
opportunity
great opportunity
because
because
you get to put
now
in,
you
yeah,
put in what you want. I am, you fill in the blank. I am great. I'm a good friend. I can sing. I can dance. I am an energetic being. And don't lie to yourself. I am a millionaire. I mean, yeah, okay, we all have the potential to be a millionaire, but you're going to create some cognitive dissonance that's just unnecessary. Say, I am wealthy. I am a wealth of knowledge. I have infinite potential. I can do anything I want to do. I am who I say I am. When you start to affirm yourself in that way, you are reconstructing your house. You are renovating your life. You are changing the software. And I was talking about on a live few days ago. talking about the hardware. We are the hardware. This is the body. This is the hardware. This is what we were given. Whether you got one arm or two, whether you got 10 fingers or 12, whether you got, some people only have one set of kidneys. Their kidneys are literally fused together. They only got one. That's the hardware, but the software is the information that we store inside, and we can choose to erase it, download it, upload it, share it, all of these things. You control that. You truly control that. If there is a belief that does not serve you, you have the energy and the right to let it go. And we're going to be talking more about that throughout the whole 7 chakras, releasing and absorbing and exchanging and transmuting and transforming. But you have the right, you have the privilege, you have the power to let that go, let that end, let that change, let that evolve and expand. Because at one point you can say, I am very important. Because you are. You make a mark on this life that no one else can make. And if you don't believe me, just look at your fingerprint. Literally and figuratively, you can put a mark that no one else can put on this world. Period. So if you can put that mark on the world, just think of what you can put on yourself. Write your list of I ams. What are you? What do you want to be? What do you want to remember yourself with or for? You can do that. You have the right to do that. I implore you to do that. Great root questions. Yes, absolutely. We do have the power to create ourselves. We create ourselves every single day. There are different things that happen in life now that I'm learning. And my favorite part of the Flint is leaning away. And I learned that from Michael A. Singer. That is really where that came from. This man, I love him so much. My bucket list is to meet him and just sit with him. We ain't got to talk. I just want to be in his presence and feel his energy because I know it feels so good. I know it feels so good. Please write your list I am. But he talks about that. He was like, just literally lean away. And when you first begin to do it, I suggest you physically make a movement and as you lean back, take a deep breath in. And when you get back, take a deep breath out, and you'll feel yourself kind of push away. When you release that air, it almost like it blows it. You lean away and then you blow it further away. Because you are not your feelings. Your feelings are simply the energy moving around your blocks. That's all it is. You feel a flutter in your stomach, it's moving around something. You feel a headache coming because you done thought too much, it's moving around a memory. You feel a tightness in your chest, it's moving around heartbreak. You feel tightness in your shoulders, it's moving around tension. That's all it is. And as we align ourselves with the energy that we have housed inside and gives it room to not just be released, but also to be absorbed. A lot of us can't even take love. It can't even come in because we build up such a wall because of what we have professed love to be. Our definition of love, not theirs, not theirs. They may have done something that you stored inside of you, but it's your definition of love. No one can give us a definition of things, of our own experiences other than us. So when you, yeah, please go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that's one of the things that we need to address perhaps in the next live, is that we really have the choice to be, right? And when I don't know anyone who has lived this life that hasn't been hurt or in some way traumatized.
Right.
And we have little mini traumas that happen all day long, every day, to somebody somewhere, and many times to us. And we hold on to them. Some of them we're not even aware that we've been traumatized, but because of the way energy works, the body knows, right? And then some of them we're very aware of the trauma, and we point the finger of blame at the other person. Now, I'm
Mhm.
not saying that the people didn't do something hurtful or harmful or traumatizing. I'm not saying that at all. But I
Mhm.
am saying this is the point. When you hold on to the anger, when you hold on to the hate, when you hold on to whatever the negative energy is, it is being, it really is affecting you internally. So many people have cancer and other diseases
Oh yeah.
because of energy blockages. And you may say, well, I can't forgive him or I'll never forgive her. And I say, okay, that's your choice. If that's where you choose, if that's where you are, and that's where you choose to be. Understand, though, that every decision not to forgive is a decision to impact yourself adversely, because
Yeah.
the energy, what you're doing is holding on to that energy. If your heart
Mm.
was broken, if somebody did you wrong, he did me wrong, she did me wrong, and my heart was broken, I will assure you that if I do energy clearing on you, I'm going to find a blockage right there, right
Right.
in the heart, because that's
Mhm.
where it lodges. That's where it
Mhm.
lodges,
Mhm.
there and or in your gut. When
Mhm.
we talk about the sacral chakra, not the
Mhm.
sacral, yeah, the sacral, when we talk
Mhm.
about that,
Mhm.
we talk about it being the emotional brain. A
Mhm.
lot of time when you have upset stomach or
Yeah.
whatever, it's because that energy is lodged there and it cannot move. Forgiveness will allow it to move. Forgiveness that is accompanied by self-love will ensure that you can heal.
Yeah. It's called the
That's
bully
another
belly.
thing.
It's
That
called the
but those
bully
are,
belly.
yeah,
Yeah. A lot of people
those
they
are
have
the,
that firm and hard bellies like that. That's exactly what that is.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
remember, if you can't forgive, you're not hurting the other person, because the other person, they've gone on about their business. They probably aren't even thinking about you, but you're holding on to it. So you're holding on to the new hurt plus all of the, what is it that toy says? Sugar, honey,
Sugar honey
sugar.
iced tea.
You're holding on to all of the sugar, honey, iced tea, right? And
Yep.
it is manifesting illness within your body,
Mhm.
depression and anger and all of the other frustration that you
Mm.
have. So let it go, babies. Let it go.
Let it go.
Just
Let it go. And I'll share some of the things that the root chakra has to do with. It really has to do, like, if you have trouble in these areas or you're finding pressure, tingling, pain, stress in these areas. I'm not saying it is a root chakra. I'm not claiming that I can heal anything, because you can heal yourself. Truly, a doctor can do all they want to do and you still don't be healed, is because you don't believe you can. So I don't claim to cure anything, but I do suggest that if you have a problem with any of these things, investigate your root chakra. So that would be your reproductive system, whether it's a man or a woman, testes, your vagina, pelvis area, your legs, your feet, your tailbone, your adrenals, your spine, and your rectum. So if those are some areas that you've had some issues with, I really would suggest diving into your root chakra. And this is what I really want to leave everybody with when you're thinking about your root chakra. This is the place where fight or flight really happens. But there's so many different modes to that fight or flight. If you get to a place where you have to fight, that is your instinct showing that it is evident that it exists. However, because sometimes the things that cause us to have that flight mode is so consistent that we get emotionally hijacked and we stay in that heightened energetic state. So then we start to apply that heightened flight mode to different areas of our lives, because it serves us so well in something that happens so consistent that then we start to fight so many things in our lives. Then there's flight. If the situation at the time worked for you to run, and that was your way of survival, that is amazing. And after you run, then your energy level can balance back out. But then some of us get stuck in that position. And it causes that social anxiety. It causes that debilitating shyness. It causes that stage fright because we get stuck when we have those consistent things that causes us to want to run, to hide. And then that becomes our defense mechanism for a lot of other things. We don't want to get into confrontations. We don't want to have no conversations. We don't answer the phone ever when it rings. We don't want to go outside of the house. And I've been there. I know I've been there. And I'm still learning myself and investigating myself. Like, what was it that happened? I'm sure there's probably some repressed memories there. But I welcome them with open arms. And I know they'll be revealed to me in time. But at the same time, it's just like you have to be willing to want to know about you. Not about how can I set now, and I'm not dismissing when I say this, I'm not dismissing these things because these things are very needed in a lot of areas for various reasons. But when you are looking to set so many boundaries, or if you're looking to change so many people, or you're looking to move to a new place, if you're looking to get out of certain relationships, make sure that it's necessary to make that move or put those things in place, or are you addicted to your survival mode? Because sometimes we can be addicted to our survival mode. You can be so addicted to something that has worked for you in the past that you start to implement it in every single situation that you have. And that is a true indication that your root chakra may be either blocked or inflamed. Maybe there's too much energy there, and because you're housing the energy there, you're not able to align yourself because you don't have enough energy going up to support all the other chakras, which we'll talk about in the next coming weeks. But it also could be a collapse because you're depleting your chakra because you're too busy running to try to get to the other chakras. I want to stay in my head. I want to stay grounded. But you're not dealing with anything. You're trying to center yourself so much in your head that your roots are withering away. So it doesn't matter if the flower is big on the top if you ain't got no root. If you don't have any root,
we don't know. Sometimes we're not conscious of the flight. If it's a it could be an emotional flight or other type of energetic flight.
Yeah.
And as you were talking, I thought about an incident that occurred with me. I'd say a couple of months ago, I was doing some work. I was doing some work with Stacy, and during the course of the conversation, I went somewhere. I don't know. I mean, I left myself, and when I came back to, it was hours later. She was on Zoom with me, and we had been talking. I didn't remember anything that I had said for almost 2 hours.
Wow.
And then she was sharing with me what I had said, and it was like really, I was having such a hard time, even with seeing it on Zoom. I was having such a hard time trying to connect with it because I had withdrawn so far from myself. And some of the stuff that came up, I realized that was not the first time that I had had that experience. But if I hadn't had it with her that day, I would not have known. And because we recorded it, then I could see the answers that I had been given, but it was there. I was there, but I was gone. And I said to her, I said, I went somewhere, didn't I? I don't know where I went.
Yeah.
But see, when you've been traumatized, when you've been deeply traumatized, that we talk about inner child work, but that is one of the things we do in order to maintain our sanity. That is one of the things we do in order to stay on this earth plane.
Yeah.
That we find a way to step outside of ourselves so that whatever this thing is that's happening, it's happening to the body, but it's not happening to you.
Right. You know, we always say history repeats itself, right? And you can't change the past.
Exactly.
But through making decisions in your present, it soon changes what your history says. So be happy that history repeats itself, but be mindful that you have the power to change it in your present, not in your past. The past is not where we change the past. The present is where we change the past. And if you're a good steward with your energy in the present, to be aware, like Dr. Sue, to be aware, like I have been, when you see these traumatic things coming up, don't fight it nor run from it. Just sit in the present moment, knowing it's not you, and lean away from it and look at it for what it was and honor it and say, this is why I've survived so many other things. But I've realized now that I don't need it anymore. I don't have to respond this way anymore. Because now that I've come to the awareness that I am evolved from what has happened to me, and now I can choose how I react to everything else in my life. And honoring and revering is a reaction as well. It can be fight, it can be flight. And there's one thing we didn't even touch on that I kind of wanted to bring up. We can also freeze. So then that energy just starts spinning around itself. And that causes brain fog and confusion and lackadaisicalness and apathy and sociopaths. Sociopaths are not born. Sociopaths are created through the definite of purpose of not giving a you know what about nothing. And we choose to do that because of things that have happened to us that have told us that I can't give a F about nothing. Because if I do, I have to feel something. And feeling something is much more dangerous. And it's just, it's true for you if that's the way you feel. But know you have the choice to change that. And you can start doing that through your root chakra, doing some meditative work, doing some energy clearing. Dr. Sue is an energy coach. She does Reiki. She can help you clear out those blocks. She mentioned Stacey Henry Carr. She is a hypnotherapist and an empowerment coach. She can help you. There's so many different avenues out here that we can take. My cousin Carol, she's a Reiki practitioner. She can help you. Angelique, she does amazing work through creativity. If you are like me and you're a creative, she lets you get those things out through painting, through drawing, through using colors. And there's a lot of symbolism in colors. Get with her. I'm a creative development coach. I do a lot of stuff. Just call me because I'm the type of person I just want to have a conversation with you. And there is very deep power in conversation. So make a choice to go down those roads that you have been scared to look at, go down, or get off that road that you think is the only one that you can go down because it's the only one that you feel safe on. You can feel safe anywhere. We have plenty of resources if you need them. We have people that you can contact if you need support. Please let us know. We'll direct you in the right path because I'm not I know what I can and cannot do. But that's the beauty of ATBA. ATBA is such a rich resource of people who are acting in their true passion and purpose. And they are here to help you to do the same. And if you want the help, you got the help. All you got to do is reach out and let us know for sure. So let me look through my notes and see if there's anything else that I wanted to specifically touch on as far as the root chakra. And we could spend like a whole week on the root chakra. And please be paying attention to my page because there's so many different rabbit holes I almost went down today. And I kind of like, jump in and out of them. But I pull myself back. But there's so much to talk about with the root chakra when we're talking about especially the different fight or flight modes. And when you're talking about the traumas that you withstand through birth, and the things that happen in your households. Even, I will dare to say, sometimes even perfect households can be a hindrance, because then you get out there in the real world and think, what is this? Because I was close to that. I mean, I can remember, my parents getting into arguments and me hearing them pray together in the rooms, so that, when I'm in life and whatever, and I'm in a relationship, and people don't, number one, they might not even be religious. Number two, and then at the time I was very religious. So for someone not to handle pressure or troubles the way I saw it being held as I was raised, I thought, well, I can't be with this person, and I would break up with him. No, but it was my conditioning. It was the things that my roots was dug into. You can also repot yourself. Like, we talk about renovating house, we also can repot. You see Sue's plant right there. You can repot those things into different soil as well, and it will grow just as well. Just because you dig it up doesn't mean it dies. It just means you repot into a different soil. Dr. Sue, what are your words? What are your thoughts?
Just needs a little tender care, tender loving
That's it.
care.
Little TLC.
Yeah. I did want to say this one thing one interesting fact, and I'm just going to drop it and then we'll move.
Oh
That
yeah, I mean, I'm not on any big hurry to go. I was just like, I
we
know
have been
me,
on here
and
for
we'll
an
be on here 3 hours.
hour. The root chakra is most fully activated during the phase of the full moon. So I thought that was interesting.
Yep, I have a friend that whenever there's a full moon, that's when she really feels charges or feel charged up. And when I say charges, it's another name for heightened energy. And in those moments, if you feel that way, because a lot of times when there's a full moon, we all associate full moons with what? Werewolves and spookiness and things. People be acting crazy. Girl, you acting crazy. It must be a full moon. It's because it dredges up stuff that we may not even know exist, and we're acting upon those things because we haven't taken the time to research ourselves to see what's being touched. The full moon is it is a very illuminating. So it shines a light on things that sometimes we don't want to look at. And that's why the full moon, that's why they call it like right before the full moon, when it's going to the full moon, they call it the waning moon, because it's building up to something. And the full moon becomes that crescendo. So yeah, that's a very good tidbit to know. I love it all. It all just means something. We all keep so many things separate. You have religion over here, then you have voodoo, then you have astrology, then you have energy, and then you have, all these things. And it's all the same thing. And it just depends on where you were born, the region you were born in, the culture that you were born to, the religion that you practice, of what we label these things. But what we can all agree on, it's energy, and it's all housed within our bodies, and we have the power to distribute it, transmute it, transform it, and expand it into what we choose it to be. So do your own research, look up the root chakra. Please come back, put it in the comments what you thought. Hashtag replay if you rocking with us after the fact. But the people who came through, thank you so much for stopping by. We cannot wait to hear what your thoughts of this is. And next week, we're going to be moving on to the second chakra, the sacral chakra. And we're going to be talking about everything sacral. And we're going to kind of brush over the root chakra as it leads into the sacral chakra, because all these things work in a very cohesive manner. and it's just filtering and using and borrowing and moving and flexing and folding on top of each other so that we can get through this thing called life in the smoothest way possible. So that is the root chakra. We've been on here for an hour and 16 minutes. So we're gonna head on out of here because we could be here for another hour and 17 minutes, to be honest. So thank you guys so much for stopping by. We love you, and we are going to see you guys again, same back channel, same back time, every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and we will see you next week. See
Bye
y'all.
now. You know, as I was thinking about what we are doing, it really is an opportunity for people to connect with their beingness. We are not conscious of the compartmentalization. We just say, this is who I am, right? Who you are is different depending on the environment that you find yourself in or the people that you find yourself connected with. So I hold myself out as an example. You know, at 71 years old, it's been a long journey. It's been a long journey to self-acceptance. And I think it may be that way for many of us, that we look at the pieces of ourselves and decide, I can show that, no, I can't show that. Is there a danger? How deep is the danger if I show you all of me? Oh, I can show these people this part of me, and these people this part of me, and these people this part of me. And then the question is, how long before you get tired of just compartmentalizing your beingness?